Hey there, my name is Jeff. Today I'm going to be telling you about the HoverAir X1 camera drone. This is a small portable drone that's really easy to use, and it has 5 built-in filming modes, so you can get started really quickly. The first mode, which is my favorite, is follow. And so what you do is you turn the drone on, it figures out who the subject is, and then it basically follows them around. It works indoors, it works outdoors on trails, and it does a really good job following you as long as you're not going too fast or making any sudden movements. The drone is obviously going to be following you, so it's only going to show the back of the subject. But that's okay. It still shoots really cool footage in this mode. Again, it's one of my favorites. There's also a mode called hover where the camera will just basically hang out at eye level generally, if that's where you want it. So you could be talking to the camera, filming a video. It's almost like you're having your own personal camera person with you. One thing to keep in mind though is that it is a drone, and so it's really loud. And for that reason, it doesn't have a microphone built in. And so the free HoverAir app actually has the ability to record using your phone. So if you do need to record audio, like you're talking to the camera while it's in one of these modes, then you can use that in the app. Another mode is called zoom out, where the camera will basically take off, start with like a close-up of the subject, and then it'll fly away and zoom out. Then there's orbit mode, which basically does like a 360 around the subject, which is really cool for like seeing what your surroundings look like. And you can adjust the speed of the orbit as well, and how many times it goes around you. There's a lot of ways to customize each of these modes depending on what you're going for. And then finally, there's bird's eye, which is just what it sounds like, where the drone will go up to a certain height and will film you from above. And again, this one you can do something similar where you can tell it to like rotate around, which makes for a little bit more dynamic shot. There's also a 6th mode, which is custom. And in this mode, you can kind of come up with your own custom shooting mode. One of the things that it does is it can take photos. It can take photos like on a certain interval, and you can again kind of program it to orbit or to like go up or down. The drone is limited in the height that it can fly. It can go to a maximum of 15 meters. And basically how it works is it takes off and it lands from your hand. So you hold your hand out, the camera turns on, you put it into whatever mode you want to be shooting in. The camera basically tries to figure out who the subject is. So you obviously, when you're holding it out, you're pointing the camera at yourself. It locks on to you as its target. And then it takes off from your hand. And then when the shot is done, the camera drone comes back towards you. You hold your hand out, and again, it can kind of like sense your hand and figures out exactly where to land. And I found that this works pretty much every time. There are a few times where I felt like I was having to reach for the drone for it to get to my hand. Like it would hover like a foot or two away from my hand. But it seems like that's kind of condition dependent. Like if there's a lot of wind or there's like a confusing background, like where I really had a problem was where I was on a bridge and the camera was being really cautious about where it was going to land. Like it didn't want to go off the edge of the bridge. But generally it takes off and lands in your hand really easily. So you don't have to be like an expert drone pilot or anything to use it. It's super simple. The way it works, it doesn't use GPS or anything like that, like a lot of drones do. It actually just follows a subject. And so I did some tests with this to figure out, like, does it just follow a person? But it actually follows a specific person. So whoever the subject is when the camera takes off, that's the person that's going to follow. And we tried to trick it by having one person launch the drone and then another person sort of jump into the frame and see if the drone would follow them, but it doesn't. It's actually pretty smart. It also, though, can lose somebody pretty quickly. So if you are having the drone follow you and you go around a corner, sometimes it doesn't fly fast enough to figure out where you went. So you do have to keep that in mind when you're having it follow you, that you may need to slow down or you may need to help it around certain obstacles. And speaking of obstacles, I definitely crashed the drone many times, or I should say the drone crashed itself, running into tree branches and things like that when filming outdoors. The slower you go and the like less sudden movements you make, the easier it is for it to follow. But I found like when mountain biking and going down like a steep slope, the camera a lot of times would not drop quick enough, and would run into overhead branches. The good thing is, because of the way that the drone is designed, all the rotors and everything are really well enclosed. And despite a bunch of crashes, it still works great. And I haven't run into any issues. Okay, so pros and cons. What I really like about the HoverAir X1 is that it's really easy to control. Again, it's just you turn it on, hold it in your hand, press the mode button and go, and it just goes. It's super lightweight and portable. The drone folds up in half to the size of about like 3 smartphones stacked together. And it weighs about the same as like 1 smartphone. So it's really portable, easy to take with you wherever you go. Again, I took it mountain biking a lot, and it fits in a pack easily, super quick to just whip it out and start taking video. The footage also comes out really well. There's good stabilization, nice brightness. Mountain biking is one of these things where it's really tough to get footage that's not shaky. And a lot of the wearable cameras have gotten better over the years, but there's still a certain amount of like vibration and stuff that's going to make the footage hard to watch. And I found that the HoverAir X1 actually does a really good job of like flying smooth and keeps the footage very stable, even in light wind. It's not going to work great in like heavy wind. I think there is a maximum wind rating for flying the drone that's about like 17 miles per hour. So if it's like gusty wind, it's not going to work, but otherwise it does stay very stable. And then finally, what I really like about the HoverAir X1 is that you can fly it anywhere. I mentioned it flies indoors. We played around a lot with that, and it does great, doesn't crash into things, doesn't like hit the ceiling. And unlike some of the more expensive drones, like a DJI, for example, that uses GPS and that you can like manually control, there are no restrictions on where you can fly this drone. And so there were a lot of spots where in the past I've tried to fly a full powered drone and it won't take off. There are these like geo fences pre-programmed in where if you're near like a highway or an airport or something like that, it's a no-fly zone for normal drones. This one, because it's only following a subject, it seems to be able to take off anywhere that you want it to, which is nice to have. Now for the cons. So again, this is a really simple drone, and so it is limited in the speed that it can fly, also in the height that it can fly to. I don't know the exact speed that it's limited to. HoverAir doesn't publish that, but from what I can tell, it's fine with like a walking pace and maybe a jogging pace. But if you were to flat out run, or if you're like mountain biking down a hill at full speed, it's not going to be able to keep up with you. And also, like I said, the height is limited to 15 meters, which is a little less than 50 feet in the air. It still gives you super cool footage, but it is limited compared to other drones. Also mentioned there's no microphone and that it is loud. I got a lot of looks every time I flew it. You know, people around me could hear it and were like, oh, what's that drone doing? So it is loud. That sound is going to be in whatever audio you're trying to record. Finally, by design, the HoverAir X1 will only follow a single subject. And so what this means is you can't launch it and like look around an area. It's only going to lock in on the person who launched the drone. This works great for most types of footage, but if you're trying to do like a aerial shot to like show what's around you, you can't do that. The camera's going to point straight down at the person. Ditto for all the other modes. There's no way to like manually fly it around and like basically look around. It's only going to focus on a person. Okay, so camera specs. The retail price for the HoverAir X1 is $429, which includes 2 batteries and a charger. Right now, it's on sale for $399, so right under $400. A nice price point. It shoots in 2.7K video at 30 frames per second. So it's a little more than high def, a little less than 4K. I found the footage to be very clear and plenty for the things that I like to do. The still photography is done at 12 megapixels. So you'll get these 4,000 by 3,000 pixel images. And the camera comes with 32 gigabytes of memory built in. And then obviously you use the HoverAir app to transfer video files from the HoverAir to your phone. And then from there, you can edit them, you can send them other places, and things like that. The app is available for iOS and also Android, and it's available for free. As far as flight time goes, that's a tricky one because it depends on the conditions, the shooting mode you're using. I would say it's 10 minutes or less per battery charge. And again, it comes with two batteries, so you can swap them out. If you don't quite get the shot that you need on the first battery, Hover Air says that the battery takes about 35 minutes to charge. So I've been using wearable action cameras for a while, and POV, it gets boring. These cameras have been around for a really long time. People have been filming videos and posting them online, and we've seen them a million times. But the Hover Air gives you a different perspective, which is really cool to see. And it's definitely going to be part of my kit whenever I ride a new trail or want to film video, because it is so portable and easy to use. We'll have a link in the description below for where you can purchase one of these. If you have any questions about the HoverAir X1, be sure to drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you next time.